All right, 1 second here. All right. All right, welcome everyone. Holding by the book of Leviticus chapter 17 again. Welcome everyone. Holding by the book of Leviticus chapter 17. We're holding by um, Leviticus chapter 17, verse 10. All right, that is where we're holding. Again, chapter 17, verse 10. Where we're in the middle of the Orach Chaim Hakadosh, but the Torah says, "Ish ish mi beis Yisrael min agar b'tzoifam asher yachol kol dam nasat fanai benefesh ocheles es adam v'chorati yoisa mikerev ama." Right, mikerev ama. Right. So the Torah says again, book of Leviticus chapter 17, verse 10. It says, "And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers, sojourn among you, that eat any blood, I will set my face against that soul that eats blood, I will cut him off." Right, I'll cut him off from his people. Right, so the whole thing here about being spiritually cut off, right, that we said, right, that we spoke about. So we're in the middle. 1 second here. We're in the middle of the Orach Chaim Hakadosh. The Orach Chaim Hakadosh mentions, and this will spend some time on. Right, the Orach Chaim Hakadosh asked the question. Asked the question, why is double language? Right? What's the purpose over here? What's the purpose of double language? Right? Why does it say ish ish? Right? Why does it say specifically? How do we translate it here? There be of whatsoever man. It says man. Right? That's the question. That's the question. Why does it mention? Why does it mention man twice? I could have just said. V'ish. Be basis row. So we said before. Sometimes the Torah will say ish. And what does it mean, ish? Was it coming to exclude a woman? Right? B'nai Yisrael. The Torah will say not B'nosh Yisrael. Right? I.e., men, not women. Right? Let's say. So Orach Chaim over here goes the whole thing. Darshaning. Right? Going through exegesis. What's going on? Right? What in the world is going over here with the double language? So we mentioned last week that it brings down the Korban Aron, and the Korban Aron brought down that someone who comes from a guy, from a relation with a guy, let's say comes from a non-Jew or a slave, right? But the woman is Jewish. So let's say man has a relation with a Jewish woman, right? Forbidden for her, not, for the non-Jew, right? And they have a child, right? Essentially, they have a child, right? So there's a question here: what status is that child? Right? Is that child a Jew or not a Jew? Right? So the Gemara So the Gemara mentions a number of things. Gemara says child's a mamzer, child's a forbidden relationship, right? Doesn't necessarily mean out of wedlock. A bastard child, as some people would translate it, right? It says that child's a mom's, right? It can only, if that child really is a mamzer, then it can only marry someone of the same union, or a convert, right? Which is the whole question, why convert? Because there's a blemish. There's a blemish over here on the status of the child, right? There is a blemish here. So the Gemara says first opinion, or one opinion, is what status of the child? Mom's. Another opinion is child's pasul. Pasul means blemish, right? So obviously not complimentary here. There's another opinion, says that the child is Jewish. Yeah. So if the mother's Jewish, we go by the mother, right? Someone that said, I don't understand. This is made up 400 years ago, right? This is 400 years ago that we go after matrilineal descent after the mother when it comes to the status of the child, right? So we'll answer that in a second. By the father, whoever the father is, that's what tribe will be from, right? External, right? Obviously, the father's is a non-Jew. You're gonna say, what tribes come from? Good question. Yeah, but even so, even without getting into that, someone commented, or actually sent me an email, all the things they don't like what the rabbis say and what the rabbis do and all this and all that. Something like the verse in Deuteronomy said you got to listen to the priest, and the Levite in every generation, whatever they say, left is right, right is left. You got to listen to them, right? And if you don't listen to them, death penalty. Now, who are the Levites and the Kohanim of every generation? The rabbis, right? That's who they are. Okay. So the person has an issue with the rabbi saying this, rabbi saying that, rabbi saying other things. Very good. One problem here. First of all, it goes against what the Torah says, but different issue. Different issue over here. Person wants to say, matrilineal descent, 400 years ago. What are you talking 400 years ago? It's time of the prophets. Goes back to the prophets, right? So, if you're going to make a comment, at least make the comment right. Goes way back to the prophets, go after matrilineal descent. Yeah. So that's not an issue. Now, the conservative movement, reform movement want to change that, bring more Jewish people, quote unquote, into the field, into the fold. What's the problem? Most of the congregants aren't Jews. So you're going to bring everybody in. You're going to, even without conversion. I'm not even talking about a bad conversion, right? They'll bring people in even without conversion. Say, we hold by, patrilineal descent. Really? Patrilineal descent goes by the tribe, right? We could explain very simple. Very, very simple. We could say, either we don't want to listen to the prophets and say, they're the ones that told you go after matrilineal descent. Remember, prophet is someone who God comes to, either in a vision or a dream. Moshe Rabbeinu, we see from this week's parsha, God spoke face to face, right? Absolutely face to face. No one else had that merit. And not only that, he had all his faculties when he spoke to God, right? Everybody else was in a trance, some sort of trance. They weren't awake. Right? Definitely not awake. Yeah, but they agree, they're prophets. Right? They can't go against what the Torah Moshe Rabbeinu is. Can't contradict Moses. And everyone agrees, they're prophets, right? Now, prophet tells you, and it's passed down to generation to generation, that's what the prophet said, and it's pretty clear, no one denies it. Then what are you going to say? It's 400 years ago? Come on. You got to get your facts straight over here. But there's another issue. Another basic, simple issue. What's the issue? See, the issue is that we know, in general, we're going to know the mothers. That's pretty clear. We're going to know the mothers. Are we always going to know who the father is? I don't think so. You could say today it's different because today we can have what? DNA test. Well, if the DNA test 99%, almost 100%, so DNA will prove if he's the father or not. Very good. No, not 100%. Okay. So you say we have DNA. Fine. In general, does does the person necessarily know who the father is? Right? The woman could say, yeah, it's from this one. Could be right, she could be wrong. If it's the only one she's been with, very good. If not, how do we know? How do we know? Because they come on. 2,000 years ago, they didn't have DNA tests, right? They couldn't prove it. So how are you going to prove it? How are you going to prove who the father is? So you tell me, the woman will say, I was only with this person. It's only possible for this person. Maybe. How do you know she hasn't been around more than someone else? What level of believability does she have? You're going to say, you give her the benefit of the doubt. Wow, this is a huge thing here. If she's going to say this person's the father, yeah, there are repercussions here. Repercussions maybe to the tribe, repercussions to inheritance. I mean, there are a number of repercussions here. Very simple repercussions. Right? And most people are going to stand up and say, yeah, I'm the father. Okay, here are the bills. Here are all the bills you got to pay. Now you can take responsibility. It's all great having fun and this and that. Now you get a child. So you don't always know who the father is. Now, this is biology, right? Biology 101 or biology 101A. So today it can be easily proven. First makes a blood test, very good. Either he is or he isn't. Prove it by DNA. How are they going to prove it before? How are they prove it? It's her word against someone else. So what level of believability does anyone have here? Right? She could say, this is the only person I was with. Right? She could say that. Yeah. Is she telling the truth? Right? So we always say, okay, the burden of proof is on the person. If they say something, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. Maybe they're lying. So today it can be proven. Okay. Before, how are you going to prove it? And there are a lot of repercussions over here. So, it would make sense. It would make sense that, okay, the mother, we know that's pretty clear. Right? That I don't think anyone's going to doubt. We know the mother is. Do we know 100% who the father is? And what if this woman, no offense to any women out there, what if this woman's been around? She's not just with one guy. Can happen. Right? Definitely can happen. Whatever it is. So you don't know. You don't know for sure. You can't say 100%. Well, if this guy's been on the picture for 2 years, yeah, maybe. But there are other people involved. How do you know? They're not discrimination here. This is very simple biology. Yeah. So who's believed? Who's got believability? She can make any, she can make any claim she wants to. No, he's the father. Yeah. So he's going to have to come up with a claim. He's not the father. He's going to have to say, can he say they were never together? If they were together, he's got to admit, okay. Yeah. That doesn't mean a woman gets pregnant straight away. Right? Again, we're going to keep this clean. Yeah. You can say, yeah, we were together, but wasn't that time during the cycle, whatever it was. Can't be from me. Some people will take responsibility, some people won't. Whatever it is. But can you say 100% clear cut it's not this person? So it depends. If she's been around with other people, in let's say a short amount of time, relatively short amount of time, could be anyone. You don't know. Right? You have no idea. So today we got ways around it. The way around it is take a DNA test, take a blood test. Right? And you'll see either DNA is similar or it's not. Right? Very simple. Very, very simple. Back then you couldn't do that. So then it's her word against anyone else's word. So then there are a lot of other factors involved. Yeah. Is she going to remember? She's going to remember, when her cycle was. She's going to remember who she's with. She's only with one person. Again, very good. That's easy. They don't have any issues. Okay. Right? So I can hear. That I can hear. Yeah. So we, the Jewish people, go when it comes to when we're talking about when we're talking about what? When we're talking about this idea that a Jew has relations with a non-Jew. Yeah, again, is it a non-Jew's fault? No. It's not the non-Jew's fault. Nothing wrong over here. The Jew's got an issue. Jew for sure has an issue. But again, what is the halacha itself? The halacha itself is that a non-Jew has relations with a Jewish woman. The child, technically speaking, we mentioned this last week, technically speaking, what's the status of the child? The child's a Jew. Right? So someone once told me that that's all that matters. That's all that matters. A child's a Jew, not a non-Jew. Okay. But they didn't learn anything what the Gemara said. The Gemara says child has status of a mom's, status of a apostle, someone who's blemished. The halacha is 100%. The halacha is the child's a Jew. Okay. But Rebbe once told me, someone who comes from such a union, if they would come in front of his rabbinical courts, he would tell them to be Magai. He would tell them to convert, stringent conversion. You gonna tell me the child itself is Jewish? That's what we said. The child's Jewish, so what's the problem? Right? What's the problem? The child's got a blemish. Right? Child itself has a blemish. So if the child has a blemish, yeah, wouldn't the child, once they grow up, wouldn't want to take away the blemish? So someone will ask, how does going through in front of, 3 rabbis having the stringent conversion, going to mikvah, how does that take it off? Very good question. Right? Very, very good question. Right? The woman's married. Right? She gets a period, she stops seeing blood 7 days later or whatever it is. Yeah, she goes to the mikveh. Now, she's permitted to her husband. How does that work? How does that status change? Right? From going to be impure, what I'll call spiritual cooties, right? In a certain way. She's impure at that point. The time she sees blood, yeah, she can't be with her husband. They can't touch, can't pass things to each other, right? Anything of intimacy they can't do, right? Until she goes to the mikveh. All of a sudden, she goes to the mikveh. Very good. Now everything goes back to normal. What changed? What changed over here? Right? Even better. A non-Jew converts. Proper conversion. Yeah, if it's a proper conversion, they go to the mikveh. Once they go to the mikveh and come out, now they get a Jewish soul. Now they get different aspects of the soul they didn't have before. How's that work? Right? How does that work? So someone, I've heard a lot of people, right? I'm not going to discriminate here. A lot of people, men, women, doesn't matter. Not going to discriminate here. A lot of people I've heard say, I have a Jewish soul. I feel like I have a Jewish soul. Let me ask the question. Let's say a person, no Jewish blood, no issues. Yeah, not coming from, crypto Jews or wherever, or they can't prove lineage, let's say. In any of these cases where the person's status is a non-Jew, we'll make it very easy. Their status is a non-Jew. Can they trade? Can they eat meat that's not kosher? Yes. The day before the mikvah, hours before the mikvah. Could they go to McDonald's? Yes. Could they go to Hobbies? Anyone knows Hobbies is in Boston? Go to Hobbies. Go to Wendy's. Go to any of these places. 5 minutes before the mikvah. Can they do it? Sure. Right? Someone told me once, said, don't tempt me. Right? So I told my Rebbe, like, come on, I wouldn't tell someone to do that after a certain point. He goes, they Jewish yet? I said, no. They go to the mikvah yet? No. Right? But I've heard people say, I could never do it. My soul won't let me. Okay. I don't know what it is. But if a person's non-Jewish, can they eat treif? Yes. Does it affect their soul? No. Now, how do I know? I spoke about this in Leviticus Chapter 10. Right? Spoke a lot about this. It's a Kli Yakar. Kli Yakar says, I hear this from non-Jews all the time, don't want to convert. Not interested in conversion, they want to keep kosher. Let's analyze for 1 second. So some hold that why do Jews keep kosher? Right? Why do we keep kosher? Right? We keep kosher. We keep kosher because the whole point is that the reason we're going to keep kosher is because it affects us. It's going to affect us in a negative way, right? If we don't keep kosher, 100%, it's going to affect us in a negative way, right? If it's going to affect us in a negative way, can't do it, right? Can't do it over here. But if you can't do it, right? 1 second here. Where is? It's gonna be plugged somewhere. All right, figure this out later. Yeah, it's not going to affect them. By a Jew, it affects them. By a non-Jew, says the Kli Yakar, does not affect them. If it doesn't affect them, because you see, says the Kli Yakar, since it doesn't affect them, you see they eat all kinds of things. Totally doesn't affect them. If it doesn't affect them, why would they do it? Doesn't make sense. Totally doesn't make sense. Right? So Kli Yakar says, so a non-Jew doesn't keep kosher. It's not one of the no-hide laws. Why not? Right? What's the obvious reason according to Kli Yakar? Because it doesn't apply. If a Jew, even though science hasn't proven it, we don't care. We don't care whether science has proven it or not. That if you are what you eat. Yeah, science hasn't proven it, so what? Does that mean we're not going to do it? Sorry, does that mean that's not the reason? It may not be the reason. Yeah. Could be 100 reasons why we keep kosher. Why God says eat this, don't eat that. We don't know why. Right? Essentially, we don't know why. But that could be one of the reasons. Now, if that's one of the reasons, if that itself is one of the reasons, then how does that apply to a non-Jew? Shouldn't apply to a non-Jew. Should not apply to a non-Jew. What Kli Yakar says, a non-Jew in general is never going to keep anything, right? It's never going to keep anything that's illogical. Doesn't make sense. Now, what's the reason? So over here, you're going to tell me it doesn't affect them. Non-Jews eat all kinds of things. Certain places in the world will eat anything that moves. So if they eat anything that moves and you see it doesn't affect them in a negative way, maybe we're going to exclude the bats in Wuhan that people ate or whatever. Doesn't affect them. If it doesn't affect them, then why are they going to do it? So if you're going to tell me You're going to tell me keeping kosher doesn't affect someone, only affects a Jew. And by a non-Jew, they shouldn't do it. Not logical. Certainly not logical. Right? A non-Jew by the Noahide laws only has to keep that which makes sense to them. Sorry, let's say better. They make sense universally. Just go in the row. They make sense. These laws make sense universally. Very good. Meaning universally according to the Torah. If the Torah comes along and says, I have a whole laundry list of animals you can't eat, and I have certain signs for animals that you can't eat, and fish. So let me ask. The Torah gives no reason. The Torah just says, don't eat this, these you can eat. Fish have to have scales and fins. You never find any fish that has scales and no fins or vice versa. Very good. What's the problem? Does that make logical sense? You tell me we don't eat, carnivorous animals. We're going to say, why? Because when you eat it, it's like you're eating the soul of the animal. Could have a negative effect. Again, even though science hasn't proven it. So you say, we don't want to be like carnivorous animals, hunting animals, trapping animals, this, that. Okay. Is that logical? Right? Let's ask the question. Is it logical? And what's the answer? It's not logical. Right? So why would a non-Jew keep something that's not logical? That's universal. You'd ask anybody off the street, Jew or non-Jew, about eating these things. So some Jews are like, I think in the Bible it says you shouldn't. But who cares? I'm going to do it. Right? Are these laws make sense? No matter if they make sense or not, you got to keep it. You got an obligation to keep it. Right? So one possible reason is we are what we eat, even though science hasn't proven it. It comes on the Kli Yakar, and the Kli Yakar says doesn't affect non-Jews the way it does Jews. Because by Jews, the Gemara says it's nitamtem es alev. When the word tuma means impure. Don't read it impure, says the Gemara over there. Read it, nitamtem means it dulls the soul. What does it mean it dulls the soul? It means a person's apathetic. It means you got to try and, you got to try and enlighten them. It's like trying to start a Humvee with a 9-volt. Good luck. Person's brain dead, essentially. First thing, person becoming religious as a Jew. What's the first thing? They start keeping kosher. Get this garbage out of your body. Because people who don't keep kosher, very hard to hear Torah. Very hard. They're apathetic. If you know anyone's apathetic about anything, don't have to be with Torah or mitzvah. Anyone who's apathetic about anything, try and convince them. Right? Try and convince them. They won't be convinced of anything. You got to work very hard trying to convince them. Right? So kashrus plays a role. Plays a major role here. Right? So I would say, person got to be careful. Because a non-Jew, if they're not going to convert, you got to ask the question, why are you keeping kosher? Who says you have to keep kosher? Right? Some will say any mitzvah they do, as long as they're permitted to do it, and they don't necessarily do it the same way as a Jew. Right? Depending on what that is. Right? Depending on what that is. Very good. Yeah. So they'll get merit. Right? They'll get merit. But the question really is like this. Question is, are they doing it because they want to be like Jews? Because, Noahides don't have so many laws to keep. Maybe 50, maybe 60, 70 are just an umbrella. 7 are just an umbrella, right? Don't steal, don't murder, commit, adultery, immorality, right? Idolatry. There are 7, but they're an umbrella of 60, 70 altogether. Let's say Jews got 613, even if we can only keep, let's say, half of them. Let's say. right? We don't have a temple. People aren't Kohanim or Levites. You don't live in the land of Israel, right? You can only probably keep less than half. Okay, plenty still what to do. The problem is, you got some non-Jews out there. What do they want to do? More. They want to Judaize, so to speak, being an Noahide. That's the problem. That's the problem. Maimonides' Book of Laws, the Book of Kings, says explicitly, you start doing that, it's called Chidushe Das. What does Chidushe Das mean? Chidushe Das means you're making up a new religion. 100% you're making up a new religion. Yeah? So, whether Christianity is idolatry for non-Jews or not, good discussion. Yeah, but it's a new religion. Goes against what Moses says. So is Islam. So is any other so-called religion. Right? We can find flaws in it very easy. Right? Not so hard to find the flaws, right, in these other so-called religions. That's not the purpose here. Right? But the idea is, if it's another religion, and they're doing things that go against what Moses says, that's what it means. Chidushe Das means it's like you're making up a new religion. You're allowed to make up a new religion? Says the Rambam, no. It's forbidden. Absolutely forbidden. Right? So I hear this a lot. I want to do this, and I want to do that. They're not going to convert. That's the point. These people are not going to convert. If they're not going to convert, then why are they doing it? They're going to say, I want to feel more spiritual. And so I'll tell you a story. This is a famous story. Well, if you don't know it, then it's not so famous. But the famous story of Rav Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik, a blessed memory. Now, he was the head of the yeshiva in Yeshiva University, grandson of Rav Chaim Brisker, probably many say closest to Rav Chaim Brisker in thought and genius and all that. A woman comes to him. And a woman comes to him, she says, I want to wear a tallis. I want to wear a prayer shawl. Right? So today we consider it a male garment and whatever other issues. But she says she wants to wear a prayer shawl. She wants to really be into spirituality. He says, it's fine. There, here's a tallis, wear it. So he gives her the tallis to wear. What happens? So 2 weeks later, she comes back. She says, Rabbi, you don't understand. Right? You don't understand over here. What you did for me and what I feel, and all that. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he's like, no, don't you remember you gave me this prayer shawl, right? You gave me this tallis to wear. So I said, you understand the intention I have when I pray. I said, I can't thank you enough. So it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't give you a prayer shawl. It's like, what are you talking about? You gave me this prayer shawl with all these fringes. He's like, oh, that's not a prayer shawl. She's like, what do you mean? Like, how can you tell me? How can you tell me it's not a prayer shawl? He says, because I took one of the sittas off and I parceled it. I made it blemished. So you can't use it as a tallis. Yeah? In other words, if I have a ritual object, right? I have a ritual object that now I can't use. Now a person, I want to use it or whatever, they make blessings on it, they have all this intention, they don't fulfill any obligations, blessings in vain. Why? Because you can't use it. Right? It's forbidden to use. So this woman says, but I felt so much spirituality. You don't understand, I put this tallis on, you don't understand what I felt? He says, I don't know what you felt. He said, I can't tell you what's in your heart, what you felt, or what's in your heart. That's what we'd say in Boston, right? Can't tell you what's in your heart, what you felt. What I can tell you is the enjoyment of the mitzvah you didn't get. Or let's say better, the merit of the mitzvah you didn't get. When a person does a mitzvah, yeah, we're going to get merit. We get merit in the next world. Maybe we get part of it in this world, whatever. But let's say a person, usually, hopefully feels good, when they do a mitzvah. Okay. But if you didn't do the mitzvah, what are you feeling? And I've heard many, many people say this, men, women, across the board. I don't have to convert. I'm already Jewish. Okay. Let's analyze that for a second. What does it mean to be Jewish here? I can be Jewish in my heart. Can I be righteous in my heart without doing anything? Because some people say, I'm a good person. Great. I got one question for all those good people out there. If you go against what God says, you're not a good person. Doesn't mean you don't have to repent, doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, whatever. But a person's not keeping Torah mitzvahs in general, they're going to say, I'm good. What does that mean to be good? So I backed someone in a corner once. I said, they said, oh, I'm a good person. You don't cheat on your taxes, you're good. You're nice to your kids, that makes you good. So I said, what's your definition of good? Now I was waiting to pounce and say, Stalin probably thought he was a good person. Gaddafi probably thought he was a good person. Henry Yamashimoy Vizikro probably thought he was a good person. May they be blot out, may rot wherever he is. He probably also thought he wasn't a bad person. He was crazy. Okay. All these people are crazy. Fine. I didn't go that far because I never would have heard it. Once you would have said, oh, Hitler thought it was good or this one thought it was good. So I had this person boxed in a corner. What's your definition of good? And the person knew I had them. And the person said, I don't know how we got in this conversation. I'm ending it right now. They knew I had him. Right? Like Muhammad Ali, rope a dope. I had him against the ropes. Had him against the ropes. Yeah. Very easy argument. So what's the definition? What some person, thinks is being, I'll give an example. Right? Cheating on your tax is a good example. Yeah. So a person will say, I'm honest. I said, okay, whatever money you make, legally, do you declare it? So if they got a good accountant, so the accountant can find loopholes. Legal loopholes. That's why they call it legal. It's legal. Now, if it's a legal loophole, very good. It's legal. Yeah, what if it's illegal? Now, a person could say, I'm still good. Why am I good? Why would I say I'm good? I mean, not me. Why would someone say they're good? Over here, because they're going to say Uncle Sam or whoever takes a lot of money. They take a lot of money out. So if I hide some of it, what's the big deal? Or if I don't declare all of it, let's say, we'll make it even juicier. Let's say someone's got an all-cash business. Now, if you have an all-cash business, let's say you don't have receipts, it's all cash. But if it's all cash, what do you declare? What do you declare to good old Uncle Sam? You know what you declare to Uncle Sam? Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Does that mean you could lie? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, things that you have that are worth value, houses, other things, are not in your name. Put them in someone else's name. Now, is that legal? Let's ask the question, right? While we're on this topic, is it legal? It's not legal. Yeah. But people justify what they do all the time. I'll take it another step further. Person thinks they're good. What do? Grandpa's getting old and senile and this and that. So they put him out of their own misery. They're suffering, going through different things. So they're not going to say that's murder. What are they going to call it? They're going to call it mercy. It's mercy. Why is that murder? One of the no-hide laws, you can't murder. Not allowed to murder. Isn't this murder? No, it's mercy. So people justify a lot of times things they do. They justify. Yeah. They justify it in the worst way, saying it's okay. So again, is that person really deep down? Are they really going to think they're bad? Everyone wants to see themselves as being good. Uncle Sam takes too much money. The Israeli government takes too much money, right? What do you think? The what do you call it? Tax authority. What do you think that they show up at people's businesses unannounced all the time? Because they know people are hiding money. A lot of times, it's hard to make ends meet. You have to pay a lot of taxes, different things. So they know people are probably hiding money. Yeah. So is that legal? Now, it's a question about Israel in general. They'll say there's no law of the land. Some say there's no law of the land in Israel. Whatever, even without getting into that. If you get caught, it's a desecration of God's name. Nothing talking about. Nothing talking about. Yeah. Even if you want to hold there's no law of the land, you get caught, you're plastered all over the place, that's bad. Right? Especially if you look like an Orthodox Jew. That's a desecration of God's name. But people will justify how good they are. They don't want to think they're bad. What's the true definition of good? Or let's say better, what's the true definition of truth? Right? So going through the last few weeks, with Noahides and beginning of duties of the heart, proof of God's existence. What is the real truth? It's only one real truth. God himself tells us in the Torah itself what's right, what's wrong. He's the ultimate judge. Doesn't matter what I think, doesn't matter what anybody thinks. He's the ultimate judge. If he says it's wrong, it's wrong. They got plenty of people out there, they're going to say, I'm good. And they're stuffing their face with trays. And they're speaking Lashon Hara. And they're married to non-Jewish, they have a non-Jewish spouse. Or whatever they're doing. God says that's bad. I had someone tell me, wow, you don't like this, you don't like that. That has nothing to do with what I like or what I don't like. Either, as I always say, what's the bottom line? What is the bottom line? Bottom line is Torah true or not true? If it's fantasy, do whatever you want. If you got good proof it's not true, fine. What about that today? People want to do what they want to do. What they want to do. They want to justify what they do, right? I was at a kosher restaurant with somebody eating a bagel. Someone says, the whole laws of conscience has nothing, there's no problem with trichinosis today. Like this idea, if things weren't cooked well, a person could eat pig, whatever, get a tapeworm and get sick. So today we cook things better and this and that. So you don't have that problem. So I said, that's a good point. There's only one problem. They said, yeah, what's that? I said, I'm not eating meat and we're eating a bagel. Checkmate, right? You're eating a bagel over here. What does eating a bagel have to do with trichinosis? I'll tell you, even without cream cheese, we'll make it easy, right? When the cream cheese hasn't been left out overnight, right? So you're worried the person will get sick. We're not even talking about that. A regular bagel. Where's the problem with trichinosis? Where's the problem? Person looked at him and said, yeah, whatever. Pass the salt. Good way to kill the conversation. People want to do what they want to do and justify it. Yeah, like someone who's into marriage. Take another step further. Yeah, I see a lot of questions. I'll get there. Somebody's into marriage. And I said, the Torah says a whole bunch of times, you're not allowed to intermarry. A Jew's not allowed to marry a non-Jew. Everybody knows that. They'll say, doesn't really matter, I don't hold by it, whatever it is. Right? They'll make up all kinds of excuses why it doesn't matter. Okay. What's the bottom line? So I told the person, even if you believe that, the Torah is written by man, let's say, right? Conservative movement, some people hold the 4 authors and redacted. Right? Documentary hypothesis. Anyone wants to Google it. Yeah. Problem is they never found separate documents. Anyway, it goes against what the Torah says. In general. But I said, even according to you, if you want to tell me that the Torah is, God forbid, written by man, if the Torah is written by man, God forbid, why do you think the Torah said so many times don't intermarry? Don't let my child marry your daughter, to go after idolatry, this, that. Many, many times. The Torah says that. Even it's written by man. So I said, do you think they were kidding? I said, what do you think they meant? Maybe you'll tell me they only meant that generation. Then when they went in the land, it didn't apply. or afterwards it's in the plan, or whatever. I said, what did they mean? Black and white. The Torah says you're not allowed to do this. It's a very severe prohibition. Very, very, very severe prohibition. So why did the Torah say it? You can tell me I don't believe in the Torah. It's written by man. It's this. It's all made up. Very good. Yeah. But what did they mean? That was the end of that conversation. Their answer was, you are 100% a fanatic. Right? That should be the best compliment someone ever gave me. You are a fanatic. I said, I know. So I said, what's the answer? I said, I want an answer. Oh, you don't have an answer. You want to justify what you do. Okay. But again, bottom line, you want to come out against anything, I say or any other rabbis say or whatever, is the Torah true or it's not? Do I have to listen to the rabbis or not? If I have to listen to the rabbis, I have to listen to the rabbis. If I can pick and choose when I listen or not, that's a different issue. Does the Torah tell me I'm allowed to pick and choose? No. Does the Torah say I can do whatever I want? No. Are there guidelines? Yes. Plenty of guidelines. Plenty of guidelines what to do. Even a person will say, well, all the laws are rabbinical. Yeah, they're based on the Torah. Many of the laws are 100% based on the Torah. The rabbis have a right to make a fence around the Torah. They can't change it. That's true. Moses himself says you can't add or subtract to the Torah. Very good. But that's not what they're doing. Right? When somebody makes a fence around the Torah to make sure you don't come to a worse prohibition, right? That in and of itself is not changing the Torah. That's not what it does. That's not what it is. Because, the laws of Shabbos, the laws of Kashrus, for sure, right? There are a lot of laws, tremendous amount of laws. If we got a tremendous amount of laws, in that adding or subtracting to the Torah, the answer is no. Why not? Why is it adding or subtracting? Because the rabbis come along and said, we don't want you to come to a worse prohibition, right? Give an example by kashrus, right? Torah says you can't eat a calf in its mother's milk. So we learn out three things. It said three times. So we learn out three things. One is you can't even cook it, even if no one's going to eat it. You can't derive benefit from it. You can't eat it. Very good. So what's the Torah prohibition? A kosher animal and kosher milk, right? Kosher meat, kosher cheese, like they have in some McDonald's here in Israel. Kosher meat, kosher cheese, put them together, it's treif. Right? That's a forbidden mixture of milk and meat on a Torah level. Everything else is rabbinical. Yeah, non-kosher cheese, non-kosher meat, whatever it is, it's going to be forbidden on a rabbinic level. Why? Why over here? Or let's say I use a little bit different example, right? Chicken and milk. Can I mix chicken and milk? No, that's forbidden. For Jews, it's forbidden. Why? What's the reason it's forbidden? Reason it's forbidden, very simple. Because you might forget, you might say, oh, it's only meats and milk. What is meat? Red meat. Oh, if it's only red meat, very good. So chicken should be okay. So why the rabbis come along and say chicken and milk is forbidden? They came along and said it because one very simple reason. You might forget. You might think it's only red meat, right? If it's only red meat and milk, very good. So chicken should be okay. No. You're going to say, but again, it's mixing milk and meat. Okay. Is chicken considered meat? Who's not going to consider chicken meat? It's meat. You'll say, wow, chicken's meat, red meat is red meat, right? What's the difference? Meat is meat, right? One comes from a cow or any other kosher animal. The other comes from chicken. Is the meat the same? No. But it's called meat. So I can't cook a calf in its mother's milk. That's not including chicken. You might say, come on, the rabbis, and say no. That's going to be forbidden also, lest you come and eat red meat with milk. you'll come to a worse prohibition. Laws of Shabbos, no different. Anything that was similar that was done in the Mishkan, that was done in the tabernacle, going to be a Torah prohibition if it was done the same way. Anything else that is similar is going to be rabbinic prohibition. Yeah, maybe a Torah prohibition if it's similar enough. Why they do that? Why they make all these laws when it comes to the laws of Shabbos? Because the only Torah prohibition is what? The only Torah prohibition is something that was done exactly the way it was done in the Mishkan. That's going to be a Torah prohibition. Okay. What about something similar? You say, oh, maybe it's not the same. So if it's not the same, it's permitted, but then you might forget and think that the Torah prohibition is actually okay. Now, is that changing the Torah? It's not changing the Torah, right? Not changing the Torah per se. But what are we saying over here? What are we saying? We're saying that what? That the Torah prohibition is going to be done exactly the way it was done in the Mishkan. That it was done in the tabernacle, okay? So if it's done the same way, I would say 100%, it is going to be forbidden. 100% is going to be forbidden. If it's done in a similar way, you're going to say, well, it's not the same thing. It's similar enough. The rabbis came along and said, you might forget. You might come to a worse prohibition. You might come to a worse prohibition. So therefore they say it's forbidden. Right? So they have the power to do that. That's exactly what the Torah says. You got to listen to them in every generation. Now, is that changing the Torah? Some people say yes. It's that, okay, right? They'll say the Torah says you're not allowed to kindle a flame on the Sabbath. Very good. Am I allowed to turn on an oven? Whether it's gas or electric. Say it's not the same thing. Okay, take a flame, right? Take a match. Wherever this flame comes from, put your hand over it for a little bit. What's going to happen? You burn it. Pretty simple. So let's say you take an oven, whether it's gas or electric. Turn on the stove. Electric, we'll make it easy. Or gas, even better. Yeah? Isn't that making a flame? Forget the pilot light's lit or it's not lit, doesn't matter. You're making a flame, right? Is that the same thing? Okay, let's do a litmus test. Stick your hand in it. What's going to happen? It'll burn. Same thing if it's electric. If it's electric, turn it on for a little bit. Stick your hand right on it, right? Drop and loss. Stick your hand right on it. What's going to happen? You burn it. You're going to say, but Torah didn't say it. It just said you're not allowed to kindle a fire. Okay, so what's similar to fire? Similarly, anything that burns should be forbidden to do on Shabbos. Now, microwave might be a little bit different. Not exactly the same thing. Right? Doesn't necessarily work the same way. Okay. What about electricity? Heard a lot of people say, oh, that's not work. I turn on a light. That's not doing anything. So I said, I got a great idea. Right? Cop and beat obnoxious as I could be. I said, I got a great idea. I want you to undo the plastic, and I want you to stick a screwdriver straight in the socket. They're like, are you off your cotton picking head? I said, if I do that, I'm going to get electrocuted. You just told me there's nothing going on. All I had to do was flick the switch. It's not doing anything. It's like, no, there's electric current in there. Oh, very good. What does the electric current do? Could that be the same as fire? Maybe. Right? The rabbis of the last generation had to decide, was it similar to fire or not? Or, did it come under a prohibition? So they disagreed exactly what the prohibition was, but for sure they said it was forbidden. Right? So, if they didn't have it generations before, is it similar or not? Right? So that's where the Karaites get, bent out of shape, right? Because they only look at the Torah itself. That it only says you're not allowed to cook, you're not allowed to carry, you're not allowed to kindle a flame. Right? It says only three. Only three prohibitions. So they sit in the dark. They don't need anything hot. One of the reasons we eat something hot on Shabbos is to show we're not Karaites. 100% showing our Karaites. I don't know how many people say there are 50,000 Karaites out there in the world. Okay, let's say. You ever hear any Karaites running around? You ever like the last greatest Karaite conference? So you want to say there's 50,000? Where are they all hiding? I don't see too many of them. To my opinion, I don't know. I'm the only one who thinks this. It's like they disappeared. It's like they totally disappeared. Okay. So they're gonna say we only do what the Torah says. Okay. See how far it gets you. So they're gonna sit in the dark. They're gonna eat cold food. Their choice. But they disappear. Right? So anything the rabbi said, how did they learn it out? Let's analyze that. How did they learn out anything done in the Mishkan is forbidden? Right? So we're gonna get to a thing. Parts of Vayakil. I think it's chapter 35 or 37. At the beginning of going through all the measurements of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, chapters and chapters of it, then the Torah says you got to keep Shabbos. Yeah. So all the commentators ask, or as Rashi says, what's going on here? I already know I have to keep Shabbos. Exodus chapter 19, Exodus chapter 20, other places. So so they learn out juxtaposition of verses. And we see there's a clear cut connection between verses. Very good. So now you're going to ask, as Rashi says, about Kesher, what in the world is the connection here? What in the world is the connection? And what's the answer? Rashi says anything that was done in the Mishkan, that was done in the tabernacle, is forbidden on Shabbos. Does not supersede Shabbos. How does Rashi have the right to interpret that? Aren't there 13 different ways biblical exegesis? Right? It's given over to man to interpret. That's what we do. And we keep what the law says. And the Torah says in this week's parsha, you don't get Shabbos right, you get spiritually cut off. Or you get death penalty. Both. Right? If you do it on purpose. You get death penalty and spiritually cut off. Now, if the Torah didn't tell me explicitly all the laws of Shabbos and what's forbidden and what's not, is that fair? Right? Would somebody say, in God's eyes, that's fair? I don't think so. You look at Solofkot, right? In the book of Numbers, what did he do? He picked up sticks, muksa, things you're not allowed to touch. And what they do? They gave him death penalty. Totally gave him death penalty. Yeah. So the whole story, why and why he did it and all that. Because it was not fair. It's not a question about being fair. What did the Torah say? The Torah says you're not allowed to do it. Period. They give you all the details. If the Torah were giving us all the details, the Torah would be like 1,000 pages. More. Right? You never finish it. So the Torah itself told you certain things, and everything else is now you're going to find out. Now you're going to find out what it means. But the Torah's a law book, right? If the Torah's a law book, the Torah's not telling me how to keep it. The Torah tells me Leviticus chapter 23, we'll get there one day. The Torah says you got to build a sukkah. You got to sit in a sukkah 7 days. Very good. You know what a sukkah is? How many walls? Does it have a roof or a roof? Yeah. The Torah says I got to take a nice, on sukkahs, I have to take a lulav, a nice smelling fruit, willows, right? Willows and myrtle leaves. Very good. What's a nice smelling fruit? I don't know. You think it's a quince. Someone thinks it's a pomegranate, right? Someone thinks it's a pineapple. I don't know. Whatever they think it is. No one's going to think it's a lemon on steroids. It's a citron. How do I know that? Or a law. But the Torah doesn't even tell me how many I'm supposed to take, how many myrtle leaves. Where do I put them? It said you're going to do it in front of God. Very good. Where, when, how? It says that's what you got to do. How would I know how to do anything? The Torah says I have to put frontlets between my eyes. Anyone know what frontlets are? You're going to say, of course, tefillin. Oh, even a Karaite's wearing tefillin. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, how do they know what frontlets are? Oh, they get their own rabbis to interpret. Very good. Yeah, frontlets are tefillin. It's a very interesting thing that the Torah says. You got to put totafot beineinechem. So how do all the translations say? What does the word totafot mean? The translated is frontlets. Well, the word totafot is not even a Hebrew word. Rashi says it's an African word. It comes from the word tot. Tot means four. What does it mean, four? Two, four. Right? Well, what does tot mean over here? Four compartments. Four compartments in tefillin. But it's not even Hebrew words. So how would I know what to do? And there are thousands and thousands of laws of tefillin. How would I know what to do? Wouldn't know. Right? For sure, wouldn't know. So a person will say, oh, it was the rabbis, they make this other. So what do people do? They pick and choose. Now again, what gives you the right to pick and choose? Either you hold by what they say or you don't hold by what they say. We don't have a choice. That's it. That's all we have. Right? And if you make it up as you go along, right? You go according to Webster's 8th definition or who knows what are you going to end up? It's going to be hodgepodge. And if it's a hodgepodge, it won't be passed up. You can't pass it down, impossible. Yeah, a lot to speak about here, but I'm going to take questions now. Someone asks, Leviticus chapter 9, over here, verses 9 and 10, right? It says, it's really verse 10. It says, Ish, mi Beis Yisrael, min hager hagar b'soich. The Or Chaim states clear. Who's it talking about? We just said convert. Not talking about a ger toshav, right? Talking about a convert, right? Now, a lot of a ger toshav is somebody keeps the no-hide laws, right? They keep the no-hide laws. They don't do idolatry, etc. So you have to see the context. You have to see the context. By the Ten Commandments talks about Shabbos, right? It says even a ger should be sharech. So the difference of opinion over there, what it's talking about. Even telling me a Jew has to keep Shabbos, right? Don't make the mistake. People will say, oh, Genesis chapter 2, God gave Shabbos to everybody, so non-Jews can keep it. Big problem. Why do I say big problem? Because when the Torah is given, God says in this week's parsha, it says the sign between me and you, me and the Jewish people, how can non-Jews keep it? If they're in the process of conversion, okay, you can't keep it as a Jew. 100%, you can't keep it as a Jew. You have to do something on purpose to break it. Very good. Right? Very good. Now, the issue is, someone will say, oh, it's given to all mankind. No. God put it out there in the world. Jews are the one come and do it. It's a sign between God and the Jewish people. It's kind of ironic. Non-Jews want to say, I want to keep it. Or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Who said you can? If you want to convert, it's one thing. Right? So you have to see the context. But the question over there is, if it says a Jew has to keep Shabbos, what? Converts, second-class citizens? Why does it say, your animals have to rest, your ger has to rest? Ger toshav is talking about a non-Jew who lives amongst the Jewish people. His obligation to help them and support them and all that. Or is it talking about a convert? Right? So number of commentaries say it's talking about a convert. Why is it mentioned it there and at the end and all that? Very good. Right? The Ramban over there. Others speak about it. Others speak about it over here. It's not talking about a convert. Sorry, it's not talking about a Noahide. It's not talking about a ger toshav. It's talking about a Jew. Right? It's talking about a Jew. That's what we're speaking about. That's exactly what the Or Chaim over here says. Sorry, Or Chaim HaKadosh. Right? That's exactly what he says. It says, Ish. Right? Every single man who's coming to exclude or include even converts. Why is it including converts? Aren't they Jews? Good question. But it's got a whole laundry list over here of different levels here. Different levels of converts, which, I don't know, we'll get there. But I don't think we're going to get there today. Right? We'll get there. Right? Is it referring to Noahides? No. Referring to converts. If so, since we don't have a temple today, to make sacrifice, prayer, prayer, how are you going to atone? Ask differently. A person sins, if a person would sin, right, how do you get atonement? How do you get atonement? Atonement only given with sacrifice. Right? You can only get atonement through sacrifice. We don't have sacrifices today. So how do you gain atonement? We'll make it easy. It's between man and God. Prayer. Right? Confession. You got to say, I'm never going to do it again. Right? You have to have regret, remorse, and all that. We've spoken about repentance. So anyone who does anything wrong can't bring a sacrifice. Right? Impossible to bring a sacrifice. So therefore, prayer. Right? And I spoke about this on Thursday, about prayer. That even though there were sacrifices, that's how everything started. But there was always prayer. Prayer always existed with sacrifice. Right? So when we couldn't bring sacrifices, what do we have? Prayer. All we had left was prayer. But it didn't mean that once sacrifices were gone, you don't have prayer. You don't have anything. Right? Prayer was always there. Prayer 100% was always there. Right? So today, how do you gain atonement in general? Same way. Right? Same way through prayer. Right? So that means that Noahide should say the sacrifice passes out. They can. Right? Again, does it apply? Ask the question, does it apply? If a non-Jew sins, let's keep this in mind. Depending what the sin is, not all the Noahide laws are death penalty. But if a non-Jew sinned, let's say a Jew saw a non-Jew bowing down to an idol, death penalty. Does a non-Jew have to be warned? No. If the Jew had a gun, can he shoot him on the spot? On the spot. They don't need to be warned. If you can get away with it, you can do it. Obviously, you can't do it today. Right? So these things, a lot of the Noahide laws are not death penalty. Some of them are. Some of them are just, total prohibitions, but not death penalty. Right? Let's see. So should Noahide say those passages? If they want to, they could. They don't have to. Certainly not. Right? For Jews, an obligation to make sacrifice twice a day. Yeah. Let me ask you the $1 million question. Where are Jews making sacrifice today? At least twice a day, I would agree. Really 3 times. Right? Where are they making sacrifices today? We say the passages anyways. The Gemara says, we say the passages anyways as if you did it. As if you already gave the sacrifice. Who's giving sacrifices today? Is there a temple in Jerusalem? No. If I wanted to bring a sheep, try and sneak it on the Temple Mount, which is forbidden for Jews to go on. Yeah. The Israeli police will stop you, and somehow if they don't stop you, the Arabs will stop you. Impossible. Can't do it. Who's giving sacrifices today? Nobody's giving sacrifices today. Yeah. So it's not a question of bringing sacrifice, it's a question of prayer. Now, can a Noahide pray? Yeah. They have an obligation in specific prayer? No. There are certain things they can say. Okay. They don't have the same obligation we do. Not at all. Right? Not at all. So therefore, could a non-Jew as a Noahide, right? Could they bring sacrifice to the temple? Can non-Jews bring sacrifice? Yes. They can bring sacrifice. Free will offerings. They're bringing sin offerings? I don't think so. I mean, double check what sacrifice they actually brought. What do you call it? They what's it called? Free will offerings, for sure they could bring. Right? That I think everyone agrees they could bring. Other sacrifice is a good question. Whether they could bring or not. But Jews are not bringing sacrifices. Right? Now, if we can't bring sacrifices, why do we say them in prayer? Or why should we say them in prayer? Because the Gemara says, if I say them, even if I can't bring them, guess what? I get credit as if I brought them. Doesn't apply to non-Jews. That wouldn't necessarily apply to non-Jews because they don't have an obligation. Bring sacrifices, right? In general. Some reforming with the help of technology exposed. Yeah, this is going to be good. Exposed to Orthodox Kiruv, and some people converted Orthodox. Okay. Yeah, fine. How can it not be the non-Jew's fault? Let me ask a question. A Jew and a non-Jew together. The non-Jew think that intermarriage is wrong. Answer the question. Does a non-Jew think intermarriage is wrong? No. Why should a non-Jew, in general, think there's anything wrong with intermarriage? There's no reason whatsoever he or she should think there's anything wrong, right? If I told someone who's into marriage, it's not, it's not your wife's fault, it's your fault. Yeah. Yeah. Someone will say, maybe it's lifnei iver lo titein mikshol, maybe she's putting a stumbling block, or he's putting a stumbling block before the Jew. Yeah. The Jew's not allowed to marry or be with a non-Jew. Why would I think it's a non-Jew's fault? What did the non-Jew do wrong? Is there any prohibition and immorality according to the Noahide laws for a non-Jew to be with a Jew? What's the answer? No. There are forbidden relationships, homosexuality, other things, right? They're forbidden relationships. Rambam has a whole laundry list. Whole laundry list who they're forbidden to be with. Okay. Right? On that list, if you look at the list of the Rambam, yeah, if you look at that list, does it mention a Jew? No. Right? So therefore what? It's unforbidden. Why? Yeah, I'll ask differently. Yeah, the Noahide laws are kept. These laws are universal laws according to the Torah that are logical. Logical, according to the Torah. Now, the question's going to be, is it logical for a non-Jew? Ask any non-Jew out there. Any non-Jew you want. Forget Jews. Ask a non-Jew. Yeah? Are you forbidden to be with a Jew? You think they're going to say no? Right? They're going to say, is there any prohibition for you being with a Jew? Any prohibition? It's got to be logical according to Torah. That's not logical. It's not logical. Yeah. Someone says non-Jew knows that intermarriage is a huge sin. So that's putting stumbling block. But again, could they be enticing the Jew and this and that? Yeah, that could be an issue. Could be an issue. But then you have to tell me that putting a stumbling block in front of a non-Jew is forbidden. That we don't say. That we don't say. That's not called a stumbling block. Even if they know, so what? Even if they know. And they seduce the other person and whatever, convince them to marry them and all that. Yeah. Why are they going to get the prohibition? If you tell me they're enticing them to put in stumbling block and this and that, yeah. The Torah doesn't say putting stumbling block applies to a non-Jew. That's pretty clear. Yeah. That's pretty clear. So if that's true, how's it putting a stumbling block? It's not even putting a stumbling block. But so you tell me, but they know in their Torah it's forbidden. Who's it forbidden for? Ask the question, who is it forbidden for? For a Jew. The Torah does not say a non-Jew can't be with a Jew. It says the opposite. It says a Jew can't be with a non-Jew. You're going to bring up children and go into idolatry and all that. Is that the non-Jew's fault? Non-Jew's liable for idolatry. True. What's the non-Jew liable for? You'll tell me they know intermarriage is wrong. Let's say most people don't. I would definitely disagree. I don't think most non-Jews think it's forbidden. They shouldn't think it's forbidden because it's not. It's the problem of the Jew. Even if they know intermarriage is a huge sin. For who? It's a huge sin for the Jew. This is not my problem. I'm here having a good time. What's the problem? Let's have some shrimp kielbasa. Let's live it up. Let's have a great time. Yeah. Again, we're going to keep this clean. Did they do anything wrong? Did they do anything wrong technically? They're eating kielbasa and shrimp and all this other stuff. They do anything wrong? They're eating forbidden mixture, Torah prohibition of milk and meat. They do anything wrong? No. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They didn't do anything wrong. You can tell me they might entice the person, they might this. Is that putting a stumbling block? And even you're going to tell me maybe it's putting a stumbling block. Even if it's putting a stumbling block, is that forbidden for a non-Jew? What's the answer? No. But you tell me they know it's wrong. Okay. Every time they're intimate, they're going to feel guilty? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. It's not their fault. Whose fault is it? It's the Jews' fault, period. It's their fault. Someone asks, is Yiddish benefit for JIT? Should a non-Jew, Jew in training, learn Yiddish? They want to. You know, if you want to be part of the Hasidic community, yeah, so comes in handy. If you want to be part of the Litvish Haredi outer Orthodox community, they don't speak Yiddish. Can a person learn it? They could. Nothing wrong with it. Definitely nothing wrong with it. Someone asked, mom's the status only applying both parents are Jewish. Yes. Does not apply to a non-Jew. Mom's their status, this blemish soul, whatever it is, right? That child, as long as the child is the mother's Jewish, then the child, it has to be two Jews, right? Even though one opinion, the Gemara says a Jewish man has relations with a Jewish woman, that woman has a child. So even though one opinion is the child's a mom, so we don't hold that way. Mom's is only between two Jews, right? It's not an illegitimate child, right? It's a child that never should be. It's a forbidden relationship, right? Just like any forbidden relationship, right? Except that if we have two Jews, it's a different issue. It's a different issue. Status will be different for that. What do you call it, for that child? It says strangers cannot partake of any blood or you get cut off. Yeah. So that's the whole question. I think it's difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities whether it's forbidden for non-Jews to eat blood. I guarantee any non-Jew who's eating a non-kosher steak, there's blood in it. Right? Guaranteed. Right? Why do I say guaranteed? I think it's pretty clear. Because they're not salting like we do. Right? So it would seem that, yeah, any strangers, let's see the verse itself, but I know there's a difference of opinion when it comes to blood. Right? I think, practically speaking, that I think we hold it should be forbidden for non-Jews. I double check that. Right? I have to double check that. But there is definitely two sides here. Two sides that either it is or not. Right? So that's a double check, practically speaking, how we hold. But again, any type of meat, non-kosher meat, yeah, it's got blood in it. Most likely it's got blood in it. Someone asked, if you want to convert, shouldn't you give up on those non-kosher things, secular movie stuff before the mikveh? You should. But again, right, before you go to the mikveh, what will the rabbinical court tell you? Go live it up. You got one day. Go eat as much as you want, whatever. Not going to affect you. You say, but if you haven't been doing it for so long, you're not going to do it now either. Probably true. Right? It'd be better to give it up before, no question. But even right before the mikveh itself, what are we gonna hold? You're not Jewish. If you're not Jewish, can you eat treif? Can eat treif. Can I watch movies? You watch movies. Can you do all these other things? Yeah. Should you? It's a different issue. That's a different issue. The question is, if you're not Jewish right now, so could you do it? Yeah. 100%. Is it better not to do it before conversion? Sure. Time of the temple. If non-Jew sees Jewish neighbor going to the temple, seeing clear and obvious miracles, right? You would say it's logical if they'd want to do the same thing and make sacrifices. Let me ask you, not you, I'll ask in general. Let me ask the following question. The question is, what happens? It says by Parshas Yisro. It says that Yisro heard. What did he hear? He heard about all the miracles, right? He heard about Kriyas Yamsuf. He heard about split into the sea. And he heard the war of Amalek. Now, it doesn't say he heard the other miracles. Obviously, he heard that. Why these two? Okay, that's the whole question. Well, let's make it simple. Didn't the whole world hear? Didn't the whole world hear? So what happened? Why didn't the whole world convert? Why was it only him? Because he got the message. Ain't Domer a real, Shmiel a real. It's not comparable to someone who hears something and actually see it. Right? If you see miracles, right? If you see miracles going on, very good. Right? What would we say? A person sees open miracles. If a person sees open miracles, what's going to happen? You're going to tell me. You're going to tell me what? 1 second. Mommy, you know where the plug is in her room? Yeah. I am. So if you're going to tell me that, right? If you're going to tell me that, what's the story? Right? What is, right? What's the story? And other people should what? Should also convert it. Right? 100%. 100% should also have converted. So if that's true, how come they didn't? Right? How come they didn't end up converting? Why wouldn't they have converted in general? Right? So what's the answer? Right? What's the answer? The answer is that they saw what they wanted to see. They heard what they wanted to hear. So there's no comparison. There's no comparison to seeing as the hearing. Or, right? In other words, if you see miracles, you see open miracles, very good. Right? Seeing open miracles, what does it do? Then your free will kind of is taken away. Right? We would say. But if you hear about it, okay. Very interesting. The whole world heard about it. Right? The whole world heard about it. It's very hard to imagine. Very hard to imagine such a thing. Because you tell me, right? You'll tell me that what? They hear about the miracles. Okay. So you say, God, what have you done for me lately? Why didn't they change? Someone came to the Brisker Rav Israel Zev Soloveitchik, a blessed memory, and told them, someone from America came and saw him and told them that, guess what? He said, if there were more open miracles, there'd be more American Jews be religious. What did the Brisker Rav say? Brisker Rav said that's only true if they're a vessel. Are they going to be a vessel? Are they going to be a vessel for spirituality? That is going to be the question. He said, if they're not a vessel for spirituality, not going to help. Won't help. So, at the end of the day, people can see miracles in front of their face, doesn't change them. They'll try and figure out how it was done, this and that. It's a story. Cab driver's telling this great rabbi a story. It's after the army, and They were in they're Africa somewhere, and anyway, they're outback or whatever, and the snake like gets a hold of somebody and is like squeezing them to death. And they couldn't get the snake off, and they couldn't shoot at it. They would have killed the person. So the only thing they could think of was, hey, say Shema Yisrael. He said Shema Yisrael. Person screams Shema Yisrael before he's about to die. Snake slithered away and went away. So those cab drivers telling this rabbi the story. Right? So the rabbi asked him, he said, well, you were there. He said, yes. Did you become religious? He said, no, it didn't happen to me. He said, it didn't happen to me. But he was there. Person said Shema. I mean, it's not a coincidence. Person says Shema Yisrael, the snake leaves him. About to kill him. Squeeze him to death. He said Shema Yisrael, saved him. So the other two people there witnessed it. Neither of them became religious. As this person said, but didn't happen to me. How do you witness something like that in coincidence? People hear what they want to hear. They see what they want to see. You can see a miracle, they see something else. Two people seeing the exact same thing. How can that be? Someone once told me, I was interviewing them for a book I was going to write about people becoming religious, whatever. And I asked the person, tell me the story. Tell me the story. Became religious later in life in their 30s. They have 4 kids, also became religious, whatever. So I said, that's not the question. The question is not why I became religious. How come my siblings didn't? How come we saw the same thing? They went one way, I went another. People see what they want to see. Right? People don't want to say, they say, oh, look at the truth, this and that, you end up looking like me. They don't want that. Next thing you can't go to ball games. You have to eat kosher. You have to, you have to learn all the time. You have to keep Shabbos. Not so exciting. People don't want the truth. People take fantasy. Yeah. So you tell me it seems logical if they saw the miracles. Miracles don't change people. Watch my video on Parshas Balak. Right? Having prophecy, I think the title is like, being a prophet doesn't make you righteous. Bilam, an evil prophet, you can say, okay, it's only by Bilam. What if someone else is a real prophet, this and that? Okay. Right? But he had prophecy. Everyone agrees he had prophecy. Yeah. It wasn't a dummy by any stretch. So if he's speaking to God, or God is speaking to him, let's say, how could he still want to curse the Jewish people? Famous story with Achav, I think it was Achav, or Yerovam, forget Yerovam or Achav. God wants him to repent. God says, you, me, and Ben Yishai, son of Jesse, i.e. King David, we're going to stroll in paradise. So he says, who goes first? Ben Yishai, son of Jesse, i.e. King David. No, I'm not interested. Not interested? God comes to you. And he says, me, you, and Abraham, right? Or Isaac or Jacob or whoever. We're going to stroll in paradise together. You're going to ask who goes first? Mind-boggling Gemara. Very hard to understand. The superficial level. God's coming to you. You want to know who goes first? Serious? Yeah. Somebody asks, I don't know source, but a lot of these things do also affect non-Jews. Yeah. Jews didn't get a sickness and non-Jews did. Again, keep very much in mind. A person wants to say, non-Jews can be affected the same way. Yeah, be very careful. Because then the assumption is non-Jews and Jews are the same. They're not. Totally not the same. Not built out of the same cloth because we accepted the Torah on Mount Sinai. No offense. Right? So we got a lot more mitzvahs, a lot more going on than non-Jews. Right? So at the end of the day, why should they affect non-Jews? The Kli Yakar himself says by food does not affect a non-Jew. So if it doesn't affect a non-Jew, why would they keep it? Oh, because I want to be like a Jew. No, it doesn't affect you. Can some things affect them? Maybe. Maybe. But what do you do with the statement there's no impurity by a non-Jew? In other words, a Kohen comes in contact with a non-Jewish body. Is he impure? If the non-Jewish body does not exude impurity, it's not impure. It's only by a Jew. So how can you say they're the same? That it affects, things that affect Jews affect non-Jews. Listen, in morality and other things, you're right. I would agree. And in ethics, I would agree. In other things, they're only for us. Right? Shabbos elevates the soul of a Jew 10 times, billion times more than a non-Jew. Doesn't matter what the non-Jew feels. Right? Let's not make that mistake either. Doesn't matter what's in your heart. Say, oh, I feel this, I feel. Right? It's not the same. No matter what they feel. Doesn't matter. Right? It's not the same. Right? An example. Okay, let's see what the example is. To jump the gun here. Was that non-Jews didn't get a sickness and non-Jews did. Right? Jews tried all these things. The Jews did. Eventually they try. Okay. Doesn't matter. But, again, doesn't matter what they're affected by, not what they're not affected by. Right? Right? Can God send an angel wipe out the non-Jewish army? Yeah. Can God send an angel wipe out Jews also? Sure. So what's the connection? They both sinned. Right? So God wiped them out. Right? God totally wiped them out. Or let's say they tried to not mix in wool and linen and the disease disappeared. Okay. Yeah, long-term consumption does also affect them negatively. Most things don't. I don't see why wool and linen should help them or not. Shouldn't affect them either way. Right? Why would wearing shatnez affect a non-Jew? Shouldn't affect them. Spiritual cooties, I would call it. Why should it affect them? If food doesn't affect them, why should? Doesn't mean they can't get sick from it. If they get sick from it, you see it affects them. Yeah. But the Kli Yakar was saying that you see non-Jews mostly eat anything, and most times they're not affected by it. So you see, they're not affected by it. Jews are affected by it, even if you don't see it, even if you don't fathom it. Right? So I think they should be advised you can eat it, but it's not recommended. Why is it not recommended? Why in the world is it not recommended? If it doesn't affect a non-Jew, can they eat it? Yeah. Can they eat a limb from a live animal? That's a different issue. That's one of the no-I laws. But if it doesn't affect them, whatever they eat in general, then what's the problem? Why should there be an issue? Not a question, not recommended. A non-Jew is not going to do something the Kli Yakar says clear. Go watch all those videos I spoke about it. Right? The Kli Yakar states clear as day. If it doesn't affect them, why are they going to keep it? You got to answer that. Why in the world would they keep it if it doesn't affect them? It's like taking a placebo. You can be, person sick as a dog, they take a placebo, now they think they can walk on water. Now they feel better 2 hours later. It's a misnomer, it's a placebo. Right? It means it doesn't affect you. If it doesn't affect you, what are you feeling? I have no idea. But it's not fixing the disease. It's not curing whatever you have. It's a placebo. Same thing. Same thing. A non-Jew is never going to keep anything, right? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't affect them. If it doesn't affect them, why would they keep it? That's what he says. It has no effect on them. So now you want to say, well, sometimes it does. Well, who says? I'm telling you what the Kli Yakar says. Kli Yakar says it doesn't affect them. If it doesn't affect them, I'll ask you the $2 million question because I just upped the ante. $2 million question is, why would they do it if it doesn't affect them? Because they want to be like a Jew. No. It doesn't affect them. It's like taking a placebo. Take all the placebos you want. Tell me how it affects you. It might affect your mind. You might think it affects you. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's doing anything. It's like the woman wearing the tallis. She didn't get the benefit and the warmth of that blessing, of that mitzvah. Why not? Because the tallis was pulsing. Tallis was lacking strings over here. If it's lacking strings, it's not a tallis. It's like a towel with fringes. Is that a mitzvah to wear a towel with fringes? No. Did you get the merit of the mitzvah? No. It's like taking a lulav that's all dried out. Can I take a lulav on sukkahs? It's all dried out. Can I shake it? No. Did I get the mitzvah no matter what you feel? No. You didn't get any mitzvah. Just the opposite. You got a number of transgressions here. Someone asks if eating animals. Oh, back to this. Okay. Makes people take on the traits. That's one aspect of it. I don't think it's the only answer. Okay. Sure, we don't want non-Jews to eat things that make predatory. What? Again, it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect them. It only affects the Jew. If you're going to go according to that understanding. And again, science hasn't proven it, so it doesn't matter, right? So if that's the reason or a reason for Jews, that doesn't apply to non-Jews. Go back and look at the Kli Yakar. Kli Yakar says it doesn't affect them. So again, if it doesn't affect them, there's no problem. Now, that doesn't mean they're allowed to hunt. That's a different issue. Hunting for pleasure for non-Jews is also forbidden. That's cruel. That's a different issue. But if you're eating something that doesn't affect you, what's the problem? The Gemara says, Tintul Mesaleh makes a person apathetic does not apply to non-Jews. It applies to Jews. Now, some will say, but it's a big thing, and non-Jews want to do it. I'm not interested whether they want to do it or not. That's not the question. The question on the floor is, does it affect them? If it doesn't affect them, $1.5 million, $2 million, $5 million question, why would they do it? It doesn't affect them. You're going to say, but we don't want to be predators, and we're going to take this in. If you're eating the blood and the blood is forbidden, yeah, maybe that would affect them. That's by blood, not by eating the animal itself. By blood. Because the soul was in the blood. That might be a different issue. The animal itself, no. Yeah. Let me see here. Only kosher by non-Jews prohibited against eating live animals. A limb from a live animal, right? Back to the non-Jew, we're not allowed to consider, okay. Yeah, that's eating animals live, or a limb from a live animal, right? That makes sense, right? But who says a non-Jew can't eat it? Right? How much time does it take for kosher meat to fit in the store to the butcher? I don't know. Once it's slaughtered, it could take, it depends how many animals it's slaughtering. If they're slaughtering a whole bunch of animals, it could take weeks. It could take a couple of weeks before it gets in, or a week, or whatever, right? It depends how many animals it's slaughtering in general. Yeah, let me see other questions here. These are people claim they came out of the church, claim to be Hebrew in the tribe of Ephraim. Yeah, heard that also. The real Jews, so to speak, or well, maybe not, but yeah, they come from that tribe. Yeah, no one knows what tribe they come from, but that's okay. What would you say to this? They're trying to separate the Hebrews from, non-Jews don't have a tribe, do they? They're not going to convert. How can they be part of the 12 tribes? That's the first question. You want to say, you get the black Hebrews say they're the real Jews, we're not, we're fake, and we're this and we're that. Okay. Yeah. But if they don't really convert, where do they come from? Nobody knows what tribe they come from, except if you're a Cohen or a Levite, come from the tribe of Levi. All other Jews don't know what tribe they come from. Who's going to sort out that mess at the end of days? Elijah the prophet. So where are they coming from? Right? Right? They're non-Jews, they have no connection unless they convert, right? Right? So how can they say they come from any tribe? Right? You just answer the question. Doesn't make sense. Clean animals is like smoking. It's not. You think it's like smoking. Yeah. Eating unclean meat, again, bottom line. Right? I don't want to harp on this. Bottom line, eating unclean meat for a non-Jew, does it affect them or doesn't affect them? Doesn't affect them. It's only talking about a Jew, not a non-Jew. That's it. It's not like smoking for a non-Jew. Right? It's not like doing anything bad to the body for a non-Jew. Not at all. It only affects a Jew. Why does the Gemara say Tintum Mesalev? It's causing the Jew to be apathetic if they eat non-kosher. It doesn't say by a non-Jew. It doesn't say bring, the play on words about impurity. It doesn't say by non-Jews. So yeah. So people will say, and I hear this all the time, I don't want to eat unclean meat, this and that. It doesn't affect you. Think of eating a placebo. You're swallowing a placebo. Does the placebo affect you? No. You're going to say, no, that placebo is like poison. Who says it's poison? Who says it's poison? Anyone's ever eaten ham? You think it's poison? I mean, yeah, maybe. Right, high in fat and other things. Okay. Is it really poison? No. For a Jew, it's poison. For a Jew, it affects them in a negative way. It doesn't affect the non-Jew. Right? That's it. So, you want to tell me, or someone wants to say, well, no, that's not true. And eating unclean is like smoking cigarettes. For who? For Jews, yes. For non-Jews? Eating the blood, you can have a discussion. Now we can have a discussion on eating the meat itself. You're going to be carnivorous and you're going to be going after bad character traits and all this. Being predatory. Who says? Who says? That's only one explanation for Jews. Who says that applies to non-Jews? Right? I wouldn't say it applies to non-Jews. How long term consumption of unclean meat? What about kosher? What about kosher meat? What if I ate meat 5 times a week? Kosher meat, clean meat. Yeah? Would that be healthy? Anyone will tell you, any doctor will tell you, no. Right? Clog up your arteries, right? Shouldn't do it. Clean meat, what's the problem? Say excess. Yeah? If I eat a lot of unclean meat, God forbid, if a non-Jew eats a lot of unclean meat, same thing. That'll affect you in that way, for sure. It's unhealthy. Spiritually unhealthy? It's a different issue. Totally different issue. Right? I would tell you, if a Jew eats too much meat, kosher meat during the week, it'll affect him negatively. Yes, it will, physically. And if a non-Jew eats, kosher and non-kosher meat up the gazoo during the week, it's also going to affect them negatively. It's not a difference between kosher and non-kosher here. Makes no difference for a non-Jew. Right? For a Jew, he eats a lot of kosher meat during the week, it's a problem. It's unhealthy. If he eats non-kosher meat or non-kosher things, it affects him negatively, spiritually. That doesn't affect a non-Jew. Someone has any sort of such a discussion taking place between the sages. These things being taken into consideration discussing Noahide laws. Depends what it is. Some things will apply to non-Jews, part of the Noahide laws, other things don't. There's only a few pages to talk about it. Right? Some things are not necessarily so conclusive. In Tractate Sanhedrin speaks about it. 54a, 54b, around there, or 54c. Sorry, 55 or 56, I forget exactly where. Somewhere around there. Somewhere around there, there are questions there, let's say sorcery. The sorcery applied to non-Jews. Leaves it open. What about kilayim? Am I allowed to put 2 animals together? Right? Can I take a donkey and a horse, put them together, make a mule? Right? Now, God allows it, but a mule is sterile, right? So for a non-Jew, are they allowed to play with creation? That's a conclusion. They shouldn't. Right? Absolutely, they shouldn't. But that, the whole question there, sorcery is the whole question there. Putting things together, they shouldn't put together, the whole question. There's only a few places in the Gemara itself discussing Noahide laws. It's not very in-depth. Right? The person who discusses it the most, we don't have a code of Jewish law on this, the person who discusses it the most is the Rambam. There's a book, Sefer Chinuch, or the Minchas Chinuch, that according to every mitzvah in the Torah, it speaks, what the mitzvah is, what the source of the mitzvah is, and goes through the Gemaras and what it means and what it's relevant to apply to Jews, non-Jews. Minchas Chinuch says, he wrote a whole book on the Noahide laws. We don't have it. Got lost. Noahide laws are not, they're only written in a few places. And in some places not very, very conclusive. So it's not very conclusive either. Someone says more caution, just the animal, the slaughter process. Okay, right? It's also true. It's also true. But again, the Gemara says if a fool eats meat, it's not good for him. Right? A fool shouldn't eat meat. Got to be on a level to eat meat. Right? A fool means literally a fool. Like someone doesn't know their nose from their elbow. Right? And it can affect them in a negative way, even kosher meat. And even kosher meat could have a negative effect. Yeah, and let's see other questions here. One second. Should we follow the Rambam's health laws? Like not eating mushrooms, grape juice, or lentils, or any of that? I don't know. Some people say that, yeah, it's very healthy, you should do it. I'm not, I don't know. I don't have opinion on it. I haven't studied it. So I can't say. I want to have a glass of wine. Okay, let me see. All right, question. What if you chicken and milk, not breaking the halacha of Hashem? Are we still, it's a rabbinic prohibition. What's the question? The mitzvah to listen to the rabbis. The rabbis tell you not to eat chicken and milk. The rabbis tell you not to eat chicken and milk. You don't eat it. Yeah, there's a mitzvah to listen to the rabbis. The rabbis have the right to interpret. Right? Yeah, how about rabbinic prohibition? For sure. I can do that if we're not breaking the laws of the Torah. Because God gave them right biblical exegesis. God says the Kohen and Levite in every generation. You have to listen to. Whether they say what's left is right, right is left. Yeah. If you don't listen to what the rabbis say, let's make it pretty graphic, death penalty. See, this is what the Karaites have an issue with, and they've disappeared. Totally disappeared. So they say they were the right, they were this and that. Okay, so what other choice do you have? What other system of law are you going to listen to? There is no other system of law. Not only that, regardless of what the Karaites think and say, as we said before, how many Karaites are in the world? 50,000, let's say. You ever hear anything from the Karaites? You don't hear anything from them. They pretty much disappeared. If they pretty much disappeared, why would I listen to anything they say? So yeah, people have an issue with this. The rabbi say this, the rabbi say that. They don't like what they say, and it's too strict. And where do they learn it from? And okay. God gave 2 Torahs to Mount Sinai, remember. He gave oral law. The Torah demands interpretation. Where do we get interpretation from? From the rabbis. What gives them the right? God gives them the right. Go back to Deuteronomy chapter 17. That's where it is. I think that's where it is. 17 or chapter 11. Talks about it. Whatever the rabbis say, left is right and right is left. You got to listen to them. If you don't listen to them, death penalty. The Kohen and Levite in every generation, someone hearing, no, that's not what it means. That's what it means. All right? Telling you that's what it means. Who else are you going to listen to in the generation? How are you going to know what the Torah means if you don't listen to them? Who else are you going to listen to? People disappeared? Right? I'm telling you, practically speaking. Practically speaking. They also derived in the book of Genesis where the Noahide laws come from. Because it's not direct. They learn it out. You're going to say, well, what non-Jews have to keep, we're not going to listen to the rabbis. I understand people have a problem with oral law. I get it. This is the system we have. They have the right to interpret. God gives them the right to interpret. And we have a mitzvah to listen to them. That's it. And nothing more, nothing less. Right? That's our obligation. Right? So some people say it's too strict, it's too this, it's too that, it's too the other. Okay. Yeah, that's the system we have. Right? God gave them the right to interpret. Bottom line. Right? That's really the bottom line. Someone asked, do you know the name of the only natural store in Israel that makes medicine from plants? No idea. No idea. What about Shabbos lamp? Can you turn it on and off? What a Shabbos lamp is, gives you the ability just to turn it inside and out. Meaning you turn it in, there's no light. You turn it, you turn it the other way, the light comes out. That's not turning it on and off. That's not turning it on and off. Right? If it's a proper Shabbos lamp, that's what it is. Right? It goes in, it comes out. Goes in, it comes out. So since it goes in, it comes out, I'm not doing anything wrong. Right? Because it's lit. It's already lit. Right? And not only that, what do I have? I'm not turning anything on and off. I'm just turning it around like a swivel. Right? When I don't want it on, I turn it to the left or I turn it to the right, whatever it is. Now it's dark. When I turn it the other way, it's light. Is that turning it on and off? No. No switch. That's fine. You can't turn it on and off. You're allowed to swivel it so that when you want light, you can have light, and just swivel it the other way where you don't have light. Jewish man gets non-Jewish woman pregnant. Is required to marry the non-Jew? They're required to marry the non-Jew. No. It's forbidden to marry a non-Jew. Question would be if you got a Jew pregnant. Non-Jew, he can't be married to. Right? He can't be with. Question is if he's with a Jew, right? Or she's with a Jew, whatever. He's with a if he's with a Jew. If he's with a Jew, she gets pregnant. So that's the whole question, whether he has to marry her or not. By a non-Jew, for sure not. Right? For sure doesn't have to marry her. Right? Not allowed to marry her unless she wants to convert. Right? There's a whole question. Deuteronomy speaks about this Yafa Stoa. Person in the army takes this woman captive, and right, he has relations with her, going to have relations with a non-Jew, but you have to understand the whole story. She has to shape her head, grow her nails long, stay in her father's house, wear certain clothing, like all these things to deter the person from the evil inclination. Right? But here he already did it, right? So you're telling me he already did it. Very good. Very good. You can't marry her. If she wants to convert, very good. Yeah. If she doesn't want to convert, he can't stay with her. He can't be with her. Still a prohibition. Still a prohibition. Shem made the man get rid of their non-Jewish wives, right? Forbidden would be the brother and sister, other close relatives, right? Those are also forbidden relationships, even for Noahites. Very true. If Israel conquers a Gentile territory, when they haven't accepted Noahide laws, okay, yeah, then they are required to stop their idolatry, right? 100%. 100%. Someone is watching sports, something to give up as Jewish people. I'll tell you that for a woman it's a little bit easier because they don't have, a mitzvah to learn like a man does, right? But I would say there's still a lot of bad values that are given over, and it's a waste of time, right? For a guy, it's more problematic because, if he could have been learning Torah, it's wasting his time when he could have been learning Torah. So you say, well, I wasn't going to be learning anyway. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What these things do, watching movies, I'm saying, let's say they're even, no problem of immorality or cursing or, other things. It's a waste of time. Total waste of time. They put ideas in your head that are totally anti-Torah. Right? Sports a little bit easier. I would say it's a little bit easier, but today people just say, I like to watch I like to watch them play. Right? Is anything really forbidden with it? Besides wasting time. Besides wasting time. A friend of mine grew up modern Orthodox. And his father wanted to take him to a ball game. And he went. Whatever. It's not a problem of immorality or other things. It's, here you're honoring your father by going. Right? And what is the prohibition? It's just wasting time. Right? It's just a waste of time. So sometimes I mentioned not only watch Super Bowl, they watch other things. Poker games. Yeah, listen, there are things that it should be done. Card games, other things. You have to ask yourself the question. You have to ask yourself the question, right? Like somebody asked, watching TV in general. Yeah. Does it make the person, closer to God? Right? That's the question. Is it leading someone to be closer to God or not? If you're going to tell me it's going to lead you being closer to God, okay. right? Maybe we can have a discussion, right? You say, well, I just want to watch the news. All the news is Lashon Hara. How are you going to watch the news? Right? It's all lies. Most of it. Right? If not almost all of it. Right? So what am I watching that's beneficial, that's helping me become closer to God? That's the question. To say, no, this is helping me, right? We'll convince ourselves of all kinds of things. Which is not true. It's totally not true. Yeah. So in general, if you didn't have a problem, let's say, of cursing, you didn't have a problem with Lashon Hara, which you probably will in most things, right? And immorality and other things. So you tell me, how does that draw a person closer? Now, again, for a non-Jew, I would say it's not a problem, right? Much less of a problem. Why? Because I would say for a non-Jew, for a non-Jew, maybe it's a moral imperative. A moral imperative over here means that is it good for me? Or is it not good for me? So for non-Jew, this probably doesn't apply. Yeah, I would say it's a moral imperative. It's probably a lot of garbage there. Most things today, even when I was growing up, were bad. Yeah, or not as bad as today, but right, definitely bad values. I don't think there's any question. Yeah. So what good is there? Sports is less of an issue, in that sense. All I can say is a waste of time, for the most part. I would say, though, for non-Jews, it's just a moral imperative. It doesn't make them better. It just, it takes them away from what they need to do. Yeah, somebody mentioned you got to guard your eyes, right? Also, curses Lashon Hara, yeah, mentioned that. Someone here mentions commands are there for Jews. No, if you're not part of the nation, you should take it upon yourself, right? Right, exactly why, again, a Jew is going to come in, they have a whole group. They have a certain tribe, whatever, non-Jews don't have that, right? Very good point. Very, very good point. So whatever we do, you got to think, is this making me a better person? Is it making me closer to God, more spiritual or not? I don't think this is too hard to figure out. Right? And a lot of these things, the answer is going to be no. Most things. Should a person be informed what's going on in the world? Up to a point. I think people go get carried away. A lot of people out there, news junkies and different that. Someone asks, why do rabbis disagree with one another? Yeah. Why shouldn't they disagree? Not everyone sees things the same way. Yeah, but the question is, does it affect Jewish law or not? That's the question. Had disagreements from the beginning of time. Yeah, some more, some less. Things got lost. Also, how can you say this? You said something like this over here, or someone else said something, and they disagree. So what if they disagree? Disagreeing doesn't mean anything, right? The question is, how do we hold practically, right? If the Gemara wanted to, it would only bring in, the response that we hold according to Jewish law. But that wouldn't be fair. You're going to say, stop being open-minded. Let's hear what other opinions are. Okay. So they're bringing this whole discussion. So if they're bringing this whole discussion, some are going to disagree. We're going to say that's not the case. Cases like this, and the repercussions could be who knows what. Repercussions could be absolutely catastrophic. Some would say, oh, this is permissible thing. Others would say you're bringing treif into Jewish people. Yeah, that's how severe it is. So yeah, they may disagree. It's a good reason, though. Not just disagreeing to disagree. Question is, does the text say what you want it to say? Does it really mean that? Or doesn't it mean that? And if it does mean that, what are the repercussions? You think everyone's going to agree on that? It depends. Some things are more clear cut, other things are not. Right? So you can have differences of opinion. But think about the exile we've been in. Think about the exile of the last, 2,500 years we've been in. Where do you think a lot of material could have got lost? Why, and people were in different places all over the world. Maybe they didn't hear what this other rabbi said. If they would have said, I've seen many times, if he would have seen this text, he wouldn't have said what he said. Yeah, or if he would have learned this, he would have, he missed this or he missed that or whatever. Well, without getting to the truth, that's not a problem. right? The question is, are you saying what the truth is? Listen, there are plenty of things that are clear cut that everyone agrees on. Yeah, plenty of things we disagree on. Okay. Just because people disagree doesn't mean it's not true. Right? You got Ashkenazi tradition, you got Sephardic tradition, right? Most things we agree on. You'll say, but in order to get to that conclusion, what we agree on, there are a lot of disagreements along the way. Okay. But they had to flush out what it meant. So by flushing out what it meant, is it true? It's not true. Doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. Right? So you can have disagreements, but even if there are disagreements, doesn't necessarily mean the end law they disagree. Maybe they do. There are plenty of cases they do disagree. So that's be a hierarchy. How do we hold? Who do we go like? We have such a disagreement. Or what about disagreeing among rabbinic authorities today? Who do you go like? Very good. Good question. Yeah. Again, so so the person asks, so who do you listen to? So you have to have your own mentor who you go by. There's disagreement of opinion, in a certain thing. Who are you going to ask? You're going to ask. You ask your Orthodox rabbi, what do you do in this situation? And you're going to rely on them. Right? That's the whole point, having a rabbi in your life, having a mentor in your life, be able to guide through that. They're going to say, but how do they know who they hold like? Right? So you got to question them. Well, why do you go like that, not like this? I'll tell people, why do I do this and not like that? Because my rabbi told me not to do that. He told me to go like this or whatever. So everyone has to have their own rabbi to go ask their questions to. Yeah. And they're going to rely on what their rabbi said or what they hold or, whatever. So, a person's got to be able to listen to someone. They have to look like an angel in your eyes. So the Gemara in Chagiga says. Now, it doesn't mean they're perfect. Yeah. But, you got to be careful who you listen to. As I always say. And the reason is because there are a lot of very good-minded people. Now, sometimes the law is what they say. Okay. Other times, some people will say, this is the law, and this is what we do, but it's not necessarily true. Misleading. Right? It can be very misleading. Right? No question. So if it can be very misleading, it can be very misleading. Now, some people don't know that. So I've heard some people say certain things. Right? And a lot of time I'll give them benefit of the doubt that what they're saying is true. Because, I know what they're talking about. I know what the issues are. Okay. No, sometimes some people will say something like clear as day. They'll say it's black and white, it's clear, 100% clear. This is the halacha, this is what we hold. No, that's what they hold. But that's not necessarily what the halacha is. Yeah. Now, why they're saying what they're saying and whatever, okay, that's a whole discussion. That's a whole discussion I'm not going to get into. But I have seen or I have heard people say certain things, and they'll say, absolutely, this is what the law is, and it's a difference of opinion. They're going according to one side of the opinion. Okay, so say that. If you're going to say this is halacha, nothing to talk about, and there's another side of the opinion, you got to go. You got to say, there are two sides here. We hold like this. Okay. But if you don't make known that other side, you say, this is halacha, black and white, and this is the way it is. I saw some idiot make a video, made a comment about something, says, yeah, this is what the Code of Jewish Law says, blah, 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 but I didn't see what the other commentaries say because he couldn't read the other commentaries. Can't read Hebrew. The person butchers every Hebrew word he says. Okay. But obviously, if he lived in a Jewish community, he never would have made such a statement. Yeah, that's what the Code of Jewish Law says. I get it. Yeah, but guess what the context is? Right? So someone sent me this video, I thought, well, look at it. Yeah, you have to see what the context is. I looked it up. So what he said was true. He just didn't know what the context was. Right? He didn't know what the commentaries say, but if he lived in a Jewish community, he never would have said what he said. He would have said, I don't understand what the Code of Jewish Law says because we don't see it in the Jewish community. Very good. Right? So make such a statement, but don't make a statement you don't know what you're talking about. Say, this is what the law says. Yeah, I can also tell you what the law says. But if you don't look at the commentaries on what they say, you'll get it wrong, potentially. Potentially. You have to see what the context is. You can't just make a blind statement and say, okay, that's how we hold. Because it's an obvious question. So the person said, the Machaber, the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law says, any woman, married or not, covers her hair. Now, what's the obvious question on that? Do you ever see children, 8, 9, 10-year-old girls cover their hair? Maybe in Yemen, they covered their hair so Muslims wouldn't rape them. They would see they were married. Okay, so that I could hear. But how do you make a blanket statement? This is what the Code of Jewish Law says. What's the obvious question? What's the obvious question? You go to any Jewish community, one Orthodox, ultra Orthodox, Hasidic, Chabad, doesn't matter. Do you ever see single women cover their hair? In synagogue? Never. At home? Never. There was a context that the commentaries talk about. Because if this person lived in a Jewish community, he never would have said that. You could have asked the question, why does the Shulchan Aruch say that? We see that single women don't cover their hair. Single women don't cover their hair. Yeah. Right? So that statement has to be understood. Yeah. So you're going to quote something to understand what the statement says. Because there's an obvious question. We don't see in Jewish communities single women cover their hair. So how does the Shulchan Aruch say that? How does the Code of Jewish Law say that? Good question. Yeah? Commentaries ask the question. What's the context? Because someone else said, single women cover their hair? Good question. Legitimate question. And what's the answer? No. Single women don't cover their hair anywhere. Anywhere. Let's get these like burqa women or whatever, but nobody holds with them. Think they're crazy anyway. Right? You got these shawl burqa women, whatever. But not all of them cover their hair anyway. Just wear shawls. You get some of these burqa women that, cover their head or whatever. But not single girls. Even if they're 16, 17, 18, if they're not married, they don't cover their hair. You gotta be careful. Yeah, so I looked it up and said, wow, it's a good question. It's a good question. Why does he say it? Because you don't see in the Orthodox community single women cover their hair. Good. So what's the context? Okay. Person didn't say what the context was. Just read it. Okay. But also read it. Right? You can also read a translation of it. Very good. So you know what it means. So why are you butchering every Hebrew word and giving a class in Jewish law when you don't know anything about Jewish law? Clearly you don't know anything about Jewish law. Yeah. Any other questions here? Debate whether they get to replace it by idolatry or not. Shulchan Aruch is standard when following halacha, right? But again, you get commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch a lot of times go to Jewish law. Many times goes like the Rambam. Goes like Maimonides, clear. Right? Many times, especially in the laws of damages. Right? A lot of times verbatim goes like the Rambam. Yeah. So there are questions, the commentaries can disagree with the Shulchan Aruch. And say, it means in this case, not that case. Right? Again, yeah, you have Ashkenazic tradition. There are times disagrees with the Code of Jewish Law. With the Shulchan Aruch, but the standard is the Code of Jewish Law, no question. Somebody, 1 second. Someone has no debate whether they can enter a place of idolatry or not. There's a question by a non-Jew. Let's say by Christianity, is that idolatry? Is shituf idolatry? There's a question. We hold it is. Practically speaking, we hold it is. Yeah, so they shouldn't go into a place of idolatry. True. Right? Very true. Is allowed to play board games on Shabbos? Is a muktzah? No. If you're dealing with money, there are rabbinical authorities say, let's say play Monopoly or any of these other games, right? That you're buying and selling this and that, even though it's not really buying and selling, right? Nonetheless, board games that have to do with money, you shouldn't do on Shabbos, right? That other board games you can play, right? If there are games where you have to write things down, that'd be a problem, right? Play Boggle or something. I don't know if people still play Boggle today, whatever, but things you have to write down would be a problem, right? Some people would say even if you don't write them down, it might be a problem because you might write it down. If one is sitting in a public coffee shop, there's a single Jewish woman. They are uncovered. Can a person make a blessing on the coffee? Should you turn and face the other way? A single Jewish woman, that's not a problem. If she's married, that's a different issue. If she's married, she doesn't cover her hair. She should turn the other way. You should or look at something else. You're not looking at the person. If she's single and her hair is uncovered, she has no obligation to cover her hair. Absolutely none. Right? If she got no obligation, not a problem. Right? Wouldn't be a problem. Let me see. Any other questions? I think I hit all of them. Any other questions? All right, the no question gonna sign out. Just every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, feel free. You can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, which I'm in a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, depending where you